Hi, my angels. This is Lifting the Veil. Let's get right into the topic. I actually had to resurrect myself from my sleep to do actually a sequel to my other video I recorded. Why does the devil send jealous and competitive people to our lives and things to actually like look out for? So this is gonna be a big story time mostly. So it won't be talking too much into like signs, things to look out for, but things are just related to me that I had to talk about. A lot of these things are just like observations I made, notes I've written down over, especially like the years. Like I'm a different person, and especially if you're not a different person within like a year of getting to know yourself even more, there's a problem with that. Like we're always growing, but there was a time where I was at my lowest. Like I was just starting a spiritual awakening a couple years ago, and I had no friends at all. Like I dropped all my toxic friends from high school. I have like a couple of really, really good college friends. I love them to death. But other than that, no hometown friends because I was an out of stater and I went to school. I didn't have anybody like in my close circle like around me that I could just like kind of hang out, do extra activities, see 101 because you do need that community. You can't just be completely alone. And then I stumbled upon this, and be careful what you wish for because you just might get it, like the Pussycat Girls. And I was kind of doing good by myself. And then I started praying and just recognize the devil can hear your prayers too. And it's not always God that's listening. So I was kind of, oh, I just wish I was having more friends. Like I was just so desperate. I would tell like my couple of my college friends, like, I'm just so like alone. Like I want more friends, people in my community, people I could like go out, hang out with, talk to. Cause like my college friends, like we go on trips, but it's like really spaced out because we have really busy lives. But I actually ran into this one girl, and I call her Apple. And this was a couple of years ago. About it was going on a couple of years, and we actually started talking online, so I didn't really think nothing of it. And then we actually found out we lived in the same state. We actually are like literally down the street from each other. So it kind of started there. First sign I want to say is somebody who is jealous or competitive of you is somebody who actually literally wants to be you. And it'll start out in real small ways. Like you won't even notice it. It'll start out in hair, like they want to have the same hairstyles as you, wear the same bows. They want to change it to your style, the way you walk, the way you talk is actually really strange that somebody wants to be you instead of finding their personality. So especially dealing with Apple, that's what I'm just gonna call it. I like using like fruits and food names. Like I actually call somebody like Taco before that I used to talk to, but like code name. But when we met, it was kind of actually very fast paced, and you have to watch out for that. Like it's very, especially if you're anxious, avoiding. That's me. Like you have to be very careful of who you're attracting, because like in the beginning, you're always like, I gotta do, and you're not like really self aware of what are my feelings, how do I feel about the situation, where do I need to slow down and cater towards myself. So in the beginning, it wasn't really nothing crazy, but I did started seeing like the similarities with the wanted to be in my style, and it started getting scary as like we started hanging out. Cause I'm like, does this girl have a personality? But it didn't actually get to that point until like a year and a half down the friendship. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand more. Every time we would go out, it was always, so she had no hobby, she had no interest. It was kind of just like, oh, whatever you want to do, I'm there. And that's actually like a big red flag, because if you don't have anything you're really interested in for yourself and your viewpoints are easily changeable, that means they're trying to mold themselves into you. And some people might actually like that, like a twin, like somebody to do stuff, but actually it's a way to compete in this open field for somebody to act a majority of the time like you. so they can get the things that you like. And I don't like that. But my biggest takeaway from that friendship was mostly the style. That was because I have a very dark style, Neil. Like, I always struggle with my style all my life. Like, I would have my parents always like, you should just wear pink or bright colors. And then as the years went on, I started realizing I like dark clothes. Like, I like that goth, like dark feminine, femme fatale look. Like, I don't really match with like that soft girl look. Or and then for some people that's completely right if it feels right to you. But I always love dark clothes. They make you look very thin. They make you look very mature. It makes you feel like you enter the room, everybody's like looking at you. But that's how I feel, especially like dark reds, like really, really dark colors. Like, if it's an exception if it's really dark, but like mainly my colors are like black, red, and purple. Like, purple makes my skin stand out. So I feel like as long as you have your style, but like once I remember Apple kind of get got led on to that, she would start wearing a lot of like dark reds, dark colors, and I would just be like, like even her pants, she wore like a lot of dark denim, and I started like kind of like connecting the two. Like, she was never like this. Like, she used to wear like a lot of like pinks, bright colors, and then after a while, she stopped wearing them. So sign number two, I would say, is the actual competition. So this girl Apple, remind you, I used to drive this girl around everywhere because, like, when we met around the time, she didn't really have a car, and it's kind of like a suburbs, like metro area. So whenever we went out to party, I was with her, picking her up. I'm making dates. I'm making times. I'm not in my divine feminine. So a lot of the times I'm giving, 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 and she's receiving, receiving, receiving. So kind of, it was actually a dream to go out with her because it's not like she's planning. Like, and I noticed that about her too. Like, we would never have like a set plan. It was very spontaneous. She would never really try to pull out gas money. I did go on a trip where it was like me, her, and another friend, and then I had a friend ask to spot me on gas. And one thing about her is she will sit back. So the other girl's like, I got you. You drove all the way here. Like, it's been actually, it was like a couple hours. She was like, I got you. It's fine. That's when I started seeing more true colors. So my thing is, but I make my money, so I was never really like that. Like, I have like a very like servant mentality. Like, I'm a giving person. Like, I don't, if it comes down to gas, I don't care about that. I make money. So like, but eventually it's going to come down to whenever she gets her own stuff, that's when you're really going to start seeing things differently from a different viewpoint. But the competitiveness didn't really start until like it came down to men. So she did have an ex-boyfriend. Me, I'm really like an introvert. I like to go out. So kind of like an ambivert, but more introverted. I like to like stay to myself. I have hobbies. I have things to do. I have my podcast. I'm drawing. I'm always like figuring out new things to do. She's like a very going out person, party, which I didn't know about her until later, but she would tell me all the time, I'm an inside person. I don't like to go out. I stay in. I do yoga. I like to meditate. I like to. So this girl, like I said, she wanted to be me. So anytime I had something I like to do, she liked to do it. She tried to figure out all my secrets, things that I would do for any, like, I'm saying anything, like dancing. She was there. Like, I'm interested in this. Next thing you know, she has nothing to do with it, and then she will mold herself. And I think that's closer to borderline personality disorder. I think that's when, as I've heard articles, and I've read articles about that, when you kind of like mold yourself to like fit in with other people instead of like being who you are. So we were actually very, very male centered. So I would tell her my feelings, like, hey, I don't really want to talk about like men anymore. This is when the competitiveness, but it wasn't a passive aggression way. It wasn't like a speaking, talking about it. So she had an ex she was having a lot of problems with. Broke up with him within like the year we were friends, and then he was still like coming around what you know how guys are. They always like come around, especially when you like cut off your energy. So we would go out, and we had this one incident where we hung out with a friend. His name was Pear. So Pineapple was a girl. So Pineapple was good friends with Pear, and Pear had another friend. So we'll just call him Lingo. So we sat in this car outside of Pear's apartment, and she told me how do not mess with Mingo. Like, Mingo is a fuck boy. She had this whole paragraph, this whole thing listed on how she don't think this guy needs to be dating anybody she knows. So one thing about me is, okay, well, thanks for the letting me know in advance, but I don't even know this dude. We could have a nice connection. I don't know him that well. So who is you to determine who is for him to get with who? As soon as we met, it was a connection. And it wasn't like a I like you instantly, like let's see where it's going. No, it was just like we were cool, we were friends, and then she got competitive as heck all over him. All and then know how I am. I'm like, girl, like I can kind of do better. And that was where I was petty and I needed to heal as well. And like I said, it's the devil. The devil is trying to test you and see how far are you going to stray away from your path to join into these devil activities. So we were kind of back and forth with this guy. I just met him, so it just made no sense. All I know is she ended up kissing, making out with him. I'm not into all that. Like, she was just all over him. He was feeling on her. So we were kind of like back and forth, back and forth. And I was kind of a little bit all over him, but like I was never really like kissing. I don't do the kissing and rubbing, filling up on you like that type. I'll probably like lay on you or something or talk to you, but I don't really do all that. I'm not a competitive person. I never was. Why? I do not do good at sports, like whatsoever. So never was really a competitive person. I'd rather like give up, say F it, than compete, if that makes sense. My thing is, we talked about it later very briskly. Never really was too much of a highlight, but we should have got rid of that guy, stopped talking to him, and called it a day, not hang out with him. Because I didn't like how that was making our friendship look like. I want to say a number 3 sign is being male-centered. And that's how a lot of these problems happen. And even on that day, we even said, let's stop talking about guys. And that was the hardest thing for her to do. Like, I saw her shaking in her boots when we brought that up. Like, no guys, no exes, no problems, no trauma, no when we go out to the bar, we don't talk about guys. First thing we talked about was her and her issue with the guy, Mingo. Getting all the names confused. And I already done told her, like, no, like, we're done talking about it. So, which was so hard for her. So she had to show it in a passive aggressive way. Me, I'm out of that phase of my life now where I have to show you pettiness to show you that, hey, like, I can be better and I can win if I want to. So Neil, and I've never been like that. So that's why I'm like, I'm becoming a person who I never was like. This is on demon time. I'm not like that. I'm not a competitor. I'm very like sit back. I let things flow. I'm very in my receiving. Like, I don't condone in any of that behavior. One thing I want to say about male-centeredness is everything we were doing was about men. And from like the time you wake up to the time you head out the door, it just seemed like what Apple, it just was not hitting her. So every time I had a viewpoint, she would say same. And I noticed that she was always trying to be me. And I didn't understand. I just thought it was like a sister friendly thing. Like, but she probably wants to like own up and be like me. Like, it's okay. She wants to grow and heal. And I would actually say, you're kind of like my soul sister. But the thing is, we would talk about these topics and then she would never do them. She never put into action. She would never journal it. She would never write it down. She would never talk about it again. Prime example, I told her how I don't have guys as friends. As soon as I say that, especially with men around, they either want to date you right up in front or they walk away because they know they're not going to waste your time. I've always had that experience happen a lot of times, and I would tell her, Like, I don't, that's honestly would probably make or break our friendship. I told her that a few times, like, because when it comes to men and the friend stuff, it just does not work out. Eventually, somebody's gonna date, somebody gonna get jealous, somebody gonna bicker. It's just, and usually the men, that's a whole, but usually the men wanna hook up with somebody. Men have intent. Women, we usually are just like, what? Some we can have intentions, but more than likely, we're just looking for a friend, somebody to understand us, emotional connection. But a lot of times, men subconsciously are building up their roster, and they're like, okay, well, this person I could potentially date, so they're gonna stay around you longer, or they're gonna wait for you. It usually happens like that, and that's just the way I want to live my spoiled girl, rich life. Like, I don't do bare minimum with men when I can have good girlfriends that will bring me up. But you have to actually find those good girlfriends. Like, you can't find them and people who are trying to tear you down. I had, with the male centeredness, I get it. We live in a patriarchy of society. I get it. You go out, you're like, okay, am I cute? Like, I want to have this bomb look or bomb male gaze. So I'm like, this person, I want to look this certain way, which is understandable. But when it bleeds into your friendship, and I have like another quick story time, I started catching on when her ex actually he did not like me because like a lot of times I was just trying to uplift her. I would never tell her break up with that man. Never. I will always be like, hey, you know what's best for you. You don't need to be controlled. He was very controlling and possessive. That he admitted to her that he didn't like me. So this was going on like a year. She's continuously talking about him, and I'm saying, I don't know, like, you seem like you're doing really good without him. You're having a good time. You're having fun. He comes back into the picture again. So she tries to get everybody to be friends with him. We already have, I said pineapple, pear. Yeah, so Mango wasn't really around because he lived far. But Pear, the guy Pear, that was really good friends with Pineapple, he would come and go. I noticed when he wanted to. But a lot of the times he was hanging out with Apple. He wouldn't really hang out with the group, which was starting to get noticeable. So I would tell Apple, like, he sure does like you. Like, he hangs out with you a lot. He doesn't really hang out with the other girlies as much anymore. So, and one red flag he will always tell me is, I do not like men. Big red flag. Why don't you like men? Why are you not building your community with your own people? That makes no sense. A big red flag. And he said he likes women because we build emotional connections and we're not made the same. So I don't even understand that part. She believed it. She's gullible, and yeah, now her ex is back in the picture. And what's going to happen is all her male friends, and she had a lot of male friends. Like, I'm telling you, it was probably like four of them I met and I knew of, and they just dropped out the blue and stopped talking to her because you're not giving them a chance to date. Like, you're not dating, you're not giving up anything, you're not. Those aren't your friends, Pookie. And I would try to tell her, and she would just agree, but she'll keep doing the same thing over and over again. So if you're not on the same level and the same frequency as me, what are we doing here? Why are we continuing the friendship? If your viewpoints are not as strong as mine and you're not helping me build you up and I'm not building you up and we don't believe in the same things, what are we friends for? She started dating the ex again, and I'm like, dang, you've been through so many things. Like, and I'm like sitting here, I might talk to a few people, but like I've been on like a date here and there, but like I never really had anything like crazy happen. So I'm just like, wow, she's very active. And then I started noticing her going out all the time. She's in school, she's going out partying, and I'm like, she is in like college, which is understandable. You want to go outside, I will give her that pass. Like, I'm not like that. As I know I like to go out, but I like my alone time as well. She started getting back with the ex. Then I didn't really process my feelings until later how I felt about this. Until we went on a picnic. It was a few of us girlies, and then she told me she was going to stop talking to this one guy, and then he still was around the group, and she kept telling me she was going to break it off with him, break off with him, and he still was around, which I didn't understand. And things just started to go downhill from here. So she stopped communicating with me as much, and I noticed that. Then she had this Six Flags trip planned. So that's just, if you don't know what Six Flags, it's like a amusement park with roller coasters. They got carnival rides. It's like Dorney Park or Hershey Park. But we had a plan to go. And when I told y'all before, she's not a planner. She's really like a sit back person. I don't like that one bit. That's enough for me to go ghost. Especially now that I'm like learning more about myself. I understand myself more. I can't have a friend that sits back and does not like the plan. I'm not your man. I'm not entitled to you. She had a plan to go to Six Flags. And what happened was it was just a day. It wasn't a time. It wasn't who's driving. I asked her who's driving. Who's driving? So she named another one of her guy friends. So remind you, I don't have guy friends. A lot of these people are friends of Apple or a Pineapple. So I'm cool regardless. I can take myself anywhere. But the principle of everything was there was no time. I didn't know who was going. Details were left out. And I knew for some reason my intuition kept telling me everything's going to fall through on Saturday when this trip is going to happen. She just told me, do I know anyone to make like the numbers even in the group? And that's why I'll text a couple people, but I highly doubt they can go. And then we had them ask for a pair to go ask for another friend, and she said it's all settled. I got it. So I was like, all right, let me know. So it comes to the day of, it's a music park. You got to get up early. I didn't hear from her all. This is the most shadiest behavior. And after this, I was done. Like, I confronted her about situations before, about the planning and how I didn't like it. And I told her, I set my boundary. If this happens again, like, I'm out the door. I'm done. I don't give her a lot of chances. Because she's full well aware of what she's doing. Comes down to it, I don't get a call. I don't get a text. It's now 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And remind you, I have her location. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't really check it as much to be like nosy. But this time I was like, let me just look. So she's already on her way to Jersey. So she texts me and says, okay, well, when are you coming? I said I was driving I remember I used to drive this girl around all the time when we first met. Almost for going on a year straight. I used to drive her to clubs, to parties, when we went out to eat. And generally speaking, when we would just hang out. All of that. My thing is, I asked for a simple time and when are we going to meet up? And I asked for communication and I can't even get that. But a lot of times when we were hanging out, I was planning, I was putting things together and I was making things happen. That's enough right there for me. So I'm like, this year and some change, I could have been doing this on my own. I do things by myself. I will take myself to Six Flags. I will sit on a roller coaster by myself. I will go to the beach by myself. I will go on these trips by myself. I don't have a problem with doing things alone because that's the closer you are to yourself is the closer you are to God. To wrap a lot of it up, I did wait. I texted her and she already went. So she had all the guys with her. None of the girls went. It was just all the guys. So it was Pear, Mango, her, and then her ex. So I texted her later, I'll talk to you later. Like, I don't want to ruin your day. You go do you. Whatever. I talked to her the next day and was like, I got to get on the phone with you. I just run down the whole spiel with her. Like, I don't appreciate that behavior, the non-communication. Then on top of that, like, I was really processing my feelings and I was telling her how I think you're back with the ex again. You said he didn't like me. Now, like thinking about that, like all I did was try to help you. I went out and there was a couple reasons he said he didn't like me, but it wasn't even valid. It was stuff that was like kid stuff, like stuff that wasn't even true. All I've done was uplift this girl, take her out, and let her have a good time. So if you don't like me because of that, that's controlling. So now you got a controller, possessive person back in your life. That's obviously it don't take less than a year to change him and his behaviors. That's just how you are as a person. It's not that's not little things you change like, oh, I'm just a little stingy with my money. No, nothing like it's you're controlling a possessive person. Like he would like control things that was on her body, and then they're not even married, like not even married status. Like you're a boyfriend and girlfriend. Like he's not paying for your bills. He's not doing anything. And I just don't understand. I processed my feelings. I told her all the rundown how I felt about the friendship, especially with her. And did I call him Mango? I call him Mango. And she's making out with him, but then you're bringing him around your ex boyfriend, and then y'all know y'all gonna eventually probably talk and get in a relationship because she was just like, I'm taking it slow. I'm just seeing how I feel about the situation. But like, it seems messy. That's all it sounds like. This story is just concluding to like a messy story because why do you have somebody you made out with, you was potentially about to have sex with, you was thinking about it around to your ex-boyfriend that you're thinking about getting back together with? I think that's really messy. I don't like it one bit. And then especially the way she kind of excluded me and isolated me so I don't come so she could be around the guys. That's strange. You can't communicate with the girl who was taking you everywhere and helping you and supporting you. I even had this is like just a bonus snippet of like things that happened where I should have kind of pieced two and two together. So she was heavily dependent on people for rides. So she goes to school. She had one girl she used to have take her to school. I met her. We actually had a good time. Like I enjoyed her family. We all hang out before. And then I realized she would take her to school. So I didn't know if it was an everyday affair. I didn't know, but I knew this girl was taking her car, getting off the highway, coming to get her, and getting back on the highway to go to school. So one day, I guess her dad came back, her friend's dad, and then she had to stop taking her. So she came back to me whining and complaining because I'm the only me and another girl, the only one she knows that has a car. So she's whining. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't know how to go get to school. She had this whole thing she was whining about. And I'm like telling her, girl, I can send you some lots, like, with some cars. She might have to go get a car. She told me she had savings. You might have to take the bus, or you might have to take a lift a couple times out of the week or something. And actually, you know what? I didn't even advocate at all to get her because you know how tired I was of getting that girl with no effort. No effort, not even like a take the bus to come to your house and then we can go out, or like no effort, nothing. Just I gotta come, you gotta come get me and spoil me like I was her man. And maybe it was a culture clash as well because we were different, two different cultures. She was, I don't know if this is too much of information, but she was of Asian descent. So like that's a huge area. So like nobody's gonna really know which place. But our cultures were a little bit different. So like I understand, but to come to the table with a friend and expect her to do everything for you, plan, organize, take on your bullshit, then you're trying to take on my personality and who I am as a person, that it's not gonna flow. And especially after the situation, when I told her I will find lots for you, I will help you, but other than that, I was not taking her to school. And I had a few people tell me, don't take that girl to school. All the stuff you've been doing, like you're giving. You need to learn how to just stop. So she ghosted me for a week. I'm talking to she had another girl end up taking her to school all week that she was using, that she talked real bad trash about later. I'm texting her and I'm like, well, where's Apple? And she's like, oh, she's been with me. I've been taking her to school. And then once I texted her, Apple hit me up later. Oh, I've been good. I'm cool. I'm like, okay, you just disappeared. So that goes to show you right there, because I didn't give you what you want. You had to be distant. And I don't like that at all. So, ladies, I would really watch out for a lot of these signs. I just had to go in depth because like it started getting like uglier and uglier. And I told her straight up, girl, you're gonna either have to really, really change yourself because like this men centering actions and it's just obvious like what you're doing here. You have to really change yourself and get yourself together. And I don't know how long that's gonna take or what you have going on, but we had a good connection in some ways, but it was just not, it's not right timing. Like I'm on a healing path to be my most authentic and best self. So if I had somebody who's stalling me, changing me into a person I'm not competitive, I'm not male-centered. I'm out here to make this money and do what I need to do for myself. And no man is going to stand in my way of doing that. And I will unconditionally love myself. So, and I started getting these like patterns, especially when I was rubbing up against her energy, her soul energy. I started getting patterns of like feeling down and out because like a guy didn't hit me back up, or and I never was like that. Like, oh my gosh, like this man didn't text me back, or oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be alone forever. And then I started getting these feelings back again, and I'm like, I've never had these feelings before I met this girl. So it's just really pay attention to your emotions, your feelings, and express yourself. Like that's I can't push that enough. Like you have to express yourself to these people because they're not going to understand. She's probably on a whole different healing path, but one thing you're not is you're not going to copy me. I'm not a replica. Nobody can be me. You're not going to take my personality and take my gifts and take things that I'm interested in. And then I would notice like it is very important to have a friend who, and I'm yes, my angels, like it's important to have a friend who has like similar interest in you and hobbies. Like I'm a nerd, so like, I like games, video games. I like reading manga, anime. Like I love all the nerdy stuff. So like if you're not kind of like in that type of like, oh, at least I play like computer games, or like it don't have to be one like um immensely into the things that I'm into, but it should be kind of similar. You should have similarities. I'm not a party person. Honestly, that's like the last thing that's on my mind is to go party. Once in a blue moon, I'll be like, okay, I want to go get a drink, go party. But most of the time, I'm on my own. So somebody who can't understand that, and I was triggering a lot of people. It was a group of us that we used to hang out with. And those friend groups, I don't think they work unless it's all girls and that's just the only way it's gonna happen. I noticed like even when I was in a group, once I was isolating myself and I was to myself, it was game over for a lot of them. It was like, okay, well, why is she not including herself? Why is she not coming out with us all the time? And it's just like, well, first of all, I can do whatever the hell I want, and two, it's none of your business. I never had a problem with that with Apple. Apple was actually really a little bit more sane when it came to me wanting to be by myself and isolate. So she and be in my little introverted way, so she will understand. But the still in the personality, there will never be another me ever. Get your own personality, have your own friends, be wherever you need to be. But one thing is, we're not going to try to be like me because there's only one of me. My frequency is boundless. Like I see myself as a vessel. Like I'm my most important person. So my thing is, if you're jeopardizing my time, my energy, and you're making me push 100 and then you pushing 20, it's over, Pookie. But it's been nice speaking with you guys. Like this was a nice story time that I had to get out. This was probably like a year and a half worth of no over a year and a half. It was going on 2 years, but a lot of information, a lot of topics to even go off of this because it's never ending, and it's just stuff that I picked up that I spoke about in the beginning. And one thing about, especially with Apple too, is she would never take accountability. She'll say that if I say something, she'll big piggyback. And I let me not say accountability. I want to say she will piggyback. Like she didn't have a personality. She didn't have a drive. So if you have somebody in your life that doesn't have a personality, that doesn't have any strong standards or strong morals for themselves, that's a dangerous walk. I would communicate that, like, what are your goals or your passions? Because whoever you're around and that's like that, they're probably looking to look at your personality and soak it all up and become that person. And that's honestly a BPD disorder right there. I will really look into that. It's strange, but keep safe. So thank you for listening. Like this video. Comment if you have a similar story to this. Yeah, know the devil's always watching. Like he hears your prayers too, especially when you're in desperate need of something and you're not letting things flow, letting things happen, keeping your eyes and ears open, listening to your heart. Then that's opening yourself for people who you think is meant placed in your life for good things, and they're really just trying to lead you astray from the actual path. And you gotta be willing to give up everyone and everything to be your ultimate self and authentic self. Even if you have to be alone and walk this path alone, is way worth the peace and the quiet than the mess. Thanks for listening, guys. This has been Lifting the Veil. Nice talking to you, my angels. Bye.